So normally I cut this part of the video out, but I'm doing the viewer coaching live on stream, right? And we have this whole forum. We got 136 people that in like 5 minutes said, okay, I'm gonna sign up, I'm gonna do this. I closed the forum immediately. I picked a random number. I got 21, and it's my mod, Captain Nobeard. The best mod I've ever had. And the guy who designed the subreddit, if this isn't rigged, then I don't know what is. Alright, Cap said that he struggles with people who outspace him and kind of force him to come in and go on the other side of the map. So I'm going to start playing a little bit like that, kind of fit that narrative, you know, and see how he reacts to hopefully give him some advice and what to do. I'm going to treat this like any person, even though this is... It's funny because people make jokes that me and Cap are the same person, so... You know, it's kind of interesting here. But yeah. Okay, so right away I did notice that you got impatient and you went for an attack right away as I was spacing outside your range. Yep, so that's one thing. Moving into your attacks is the biggest... Oh, I started to lag. Cap is DDoSing me. This is not fair. This is not fair. So yeah, moving into your attacks is something that I would definitely recommend. It's very, very subtle, the timing of it, but if you move just a little bit first and then go for an attack, rather than going for an attack right away, if you just give yourself just that fraction of a second of movement, not only does it get you in range of getting the attack, but yep, that's another example, like that downlight. If I was better at being passive, I would have hit you for it. I am very not practiced at this. But yeah, if you just moved for half a second, even less, a quarter of a second, I would have, number one, been more nervous because you would have been closer and more in range. And number two, you would have been able to hit me. Also, keep in mind that Cap is playing from the other side of the country, so he's going to be lagging here. If you notice some of his movement off stage looks like he's lagging, yeah, like right there. So keep that in mind, I guess. I do apologize that you have to play in US West Cap, but then again, we are the same person, so everything I said just now was a lie. I can imagine that playing against people like how I'm playing right now will be more difficult as you're lagging, because it requires a bit more reaction. Okay, so I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'm going to start going in more and see how you react to it. One thing that I am noticing is you're struggling with floatiness. So you're going for a lot of grounded attacks, a lot of these wake-ups, a lot of these sidelights, and I'm just hovering right above that range. As sword, jump nair is super good, and jump recovery is also super good, especially on a map like Enigma, because you can jump recovery and then retreat to these platforms and get your jumps back, right? So as I'm hovering above you, going for options like that is very helpful, and not getting baited out as I'm hovering above you. So I'm just waiting for you to attack pretty much. Nair, yep. I'm waiting for you to attack to whiff so I can punish you. And what I'm doing is as I'm falling down, I'm baiting as if I'm going to attack, and then I don't. I just go for one more option. I wait for you to do something, and then I punish, except I don't punish because I suck. So there's two things you can do in that situation. Number one is meet me where I'm at. So jump up to my height in the air. So that's one thing that's really helpful, is when you meet me in the air, you're going to have more options than me, right? Because if I'm hovering around here waiting for you to miss as I'm jumping around, I'm losing my jumps and maybe even my dodge in the process. But you, if you just jump up, you have all your options already there. So yeah, that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is to wait them out and contest when they land on the ground versus trying to hit them, anti-air them from ground. Especially on weapons like Cannon. Cannon doesn't really have a great anti-air from the ground. Endlight is pretty good, but it only hits like mid jump height. It doesn't hit full jump height. So that's one thing. Coming back to stage is another thing. On Cannon, you kind of are staring a lot, and I'm just staying outside this range. So that is the biggest thing. I think if you spend like, again, like half a second walking towards me before you attack, and start mixing and stuff like that, then I start to get way more nervous about when I back up and when I'm safe. All right, game number 2 here. Switching up to the Zul. Now, Axe is one of those weapons that I think sometimes people can really get away with. Hopefully this doesn't sound bad, but when people struggle with people being at longer ranges, their opponents being at longer ranges, Axe is one of those weapons that can kind of get you wins, but also simultaneously not teach you the skill you need. As people get even better and better at it. Because Sidelight, for example, has so much range, it can catch people trying to outrange it and catch them off guard. Ooh, I missed my spot dodge there. It can catch them off guard because it has such a long range. But over time, people get better and better. They start mixing in their movement, start going for options like that, like a falling grounded move rather than just a falling aerial. And your Sidelights start to get you punished a lot more. So let's see if Cap tends to go for Sidelights a lot in that situation, and how I can try and maybe figure out some ways to work around it. So a good thing that Cap was doing, he was dashing downlighting rather than just dash and sidelighting, which is a great option on Axe because oh, okay, yeah, that looks like lag. I got you. Don't worry. Because Axe sidelight, even though it does hit in the air, Axe downlight just has a vortex of a move. So yeah. There, it was just, 50-50. Either I dodge or I don't dodge, so I can't really blame you there. That's another thing that I've been noticing. So when you're uncomfortable moving back to stage, you kind of always attack back to stage. So like I'm just backing up here. And again, this is also a habit that I tend to do a lot when I lag, so that could be part of it. That because you're lagging, you feel really uncomfortable off stage, so you want to come back in. But be careful about always attacking back on stage. And again, this kind of tends to be the general thing that I'm noticing is a bit of impatience. And rather than going for something right when you think you need to go for it, just waiting a hair. And just waiting a hair will give you so many more options. It's like, rather than off and on, suddenly you have like a dim light switch, right? You can do this and you can do that. But as it is right now, it seems like it's either attack or jump or wait. Rather than like move in and then dash back and then do one of those, one of these fancy movements. And it doesn't even have to be fancy, it can be simple. Just like a hop in place, for example. But a hop in place can be super effective if someone's expecting you to sair and then you don't sair, right? You're just waiting, you wait for the spot dodge, and then you hit them. So stuff like that. And that's game number 2. Hopefully that helps. Game number 3 here on the Asuri. Now, I'm guessing that there's going to be some sword sidelights, some Katar sidelights, but what I'm really looking out for are the Katar downlights and the Katar endlights. Because Katars is another one of those weapons that when you struggle with people floating, it can have a little bit of a cheat code with downlight and endlight, where if you miss a downlight, well, you got endlight and you're going to catch them falling anyway. Again, as people start to get better and better, they're going to be able to counter that, so I do want to look out if that's one of the things that you tend to do, because that may be something that people punish you for and you struggle with. Here, I'm just going to do this. Attack back on stage. Yep, that was a good punish. And I am looking out for the Katars because, okay, that endlight, actually, scratch what I was just saying. That endlight is a perfect example of what I was talking about in game 1, where it's waiting for me to, instead of going for that endlight, you can either jump recovery to meet me where I am, or that kind of situation is hard because you can get knocked off stage, but you can go off stage, dip down, wait for me to land, and then hit me with an attack. All right, so here I'm just going to float above you, downlight, into endlight. Yep. So that's like very, very common. You notice that before the game even started, I kind of had a prediction based on how Cap was playing earlier. So that's another thing. If you're trying to beat players, now I could have gone for double downlight there, but I don't want to kill yet. If you're struggling against players that do play like this, keep in mind that habits between legends and between characters, between even habits themselves, right? If you tend to dodge in a lot or dodge down a lot, it might be a common habit that you also try to get back on stage really quickly. So even like in-game, between individual characters, things can transfer over and there's a lot of similarities. So if you notice one thing that someone tends to do, go into your memory banks and think about all the other players you've played and think about, oh, maybe they also do this other thing that a ton of players tend to play. What makes a really, really good player different from a really, really great player is their ability to recognize that that's what their general habit is and to try other things, to do other things, to experiment, even if they might lose in the process. But then they have more tools in their toolkit, and when you have more tools, I mean, you're able to find the right one for the job, right? Not every job will need a hammer. Not every job will need a nail. Sometimes you need a buzzsaw. And so the idea is if you can notice habits between players, maybe you can notice those habits in yourself as well. That's something to take away. But yeah, I think in this game, it's an example of a lot of what I was talking about, kind of a culmination of the past couple games of going for a lot of attacks really quickly. Again, Cap is lagging. I should mention that because that changes how you play. But movement into the attacks, impatience when I'm floating above you, and just waiting a hair, just a second, before attacking every time. And then also you'll be locked, because when you attack you get locked into animation frames, you won't be locked in your animation frames for as long. So hopefully that helps. It's insane that Cap was the last viewer in this session. I don't know how I could rig it any better, but thank you, Cap. I'm glad you came on stream, and again, thank you for volunteering, because I think this could help a lot of people. Because I think your habits and what I've noticed is a general trend among a ton of different players. So again, thank you for volunteering, thank you for watching, and no, chat, I'm not capped. I didn't just play against a bot of myself. That's not how this works. Thanks for coming on stream. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you've done.